Hey guys, it's Shannon with Wild North Shack, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to pre-sprout your ranunculus and anemone corms. Super easy to do. I'm here in Zone 6A in Canada. For 6 Zone A, I'm lucky enough that I can start them up right now. It's actually, how many weeks are we from the last frost? Technically, I think we're on 11. Today is February 22nd. So I am just starting to start all my corms up, and hopefully they will start to bloom for me in the late spring or early summer, fingers crossed, if all goes according to plan. So usually you can pre-sprout your corms for zones 3 to 6. So if you're in those zones, this is when you're going to want to start your ranunculus corms. It's just a little bit too cold out, especially here in Canada with the way the weather can be and unpredictable. Usually most times it will just rot the corms out. So here in Canada, a lot of us flower farmers will pre-sprout them. Gives them a better chance and head start in planting out into the springtime. So last year I actually pre-sprouted this week time frame last year. And I planted out, I think it was around the 2nd and 3rd week of March. So a lot of my corms, I doubled my stock last year, which was nice. So I have a lot of baby corms, unfortunately, that will probably not produce a bloom for me this season. But hopefully in the next following season, if they live and if they store well, don't rot out on me, that they'll produce a bloom for next season. Fingers crossed. That's the game plan anyways. Obviously, I don't want to toss out a lot of those smaller corms. I want to see what they can do and if they'll produce a bigger corm for me for the following season. Some of the corms that you do purchase from either wholesale or flower farmers, some of those you can only grow for one season and then you have to destroy that corm. Some of them you cannot resell as well. So there are restrictions on that. But yeah, so again, we're going to pre-sprout them starting. I already started a couple, so I can actually kind of show you where I store them and the conditions for that as well. So all you need to do to pre-sprout your corms, and all you need obviously are your corms. So you can buy them either wholesale, you can buy them at greenhouses, you can buy them at the dollar store, you can buy them at Walmart. If you really want the nice varieties or the varieties that are nice and tall or the specialty colors like the blushes and stuff, you'll have to order wholesale. Usually most times that incorporates you purchasing a lot at once. And a lot of orders, usually over $500. So do keep that in mind. It might be a little bit better if you're a home gardener just to buy in small batches from bigger flower growers and farmers. So I got my 5-gallon bucket here. I have it filled about halfway with water. One of the important things when you use water from the tap here, especially in the cities, is that you let the water sit for 24 hours, let the chlorine dissipate out, and then you can end up using that water. Obviously, you don't want to soak your corms up in chlorine, sorry. Obvious reasons, right? So I have my 5-gallon bucket. It's halfway filled. I did pour the corms in accidentally because I thought I was recording. Obviously wasn't. So they're already sitting in the bucket. They've been sitting in the bucket now for about 15 minutes. So when you do start your ranunculus corms up and you put them in the water, start a timer. You're going to want to change the water every hour. Okay. This is going to make sure that you get more oxygen into your water. You want more oxygen, obviously. You want cleaner water, especially in my case. I dug some of these corms up from last season, so they're a little bit dirty. They have a little bit of sand on them. So changing out that water, just make sure they're basically starting up in a clean environment, right? Less bacteria and less dirtiness. So yeah, they're about 15 minutes into soaking. I actually this year put one of those fancy air bubbler or the aerators on them or in the bucket with them. We're going to see if it makes a difference. Another thing that I'm doing differently this year is that I'm actually using different soils. So it's definitely more fluffier, more lighter. So obviously it's better for getting oxygen, aeration in there a little bit better too, instead of having your soil being more wet for longer periods of time, which obviously you don't want to do when you're starting up your corms. So yeah, another thing, you are going to take a 10-20 tray and you're going to fill that up as well with that soil. And I'm going to show you that in a minute here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my setup for the little aerator or the buckets that I have them set up in. And then I'll show you the 10-20 trays and how I get those set up as well. This bucket has been sitting now for about 15 minutes. I'll dig them out so I can show you how they look after 15 minutes. So they still look pretty much like they were pulled and stored. They're getting a little bit more brighter in color. They are absorbing some water there. as you can see. And then I'll show you ones that are actually still in storage here. So they're a lot drier. So these ones are a different variety. Obviously that's how I had them stored. So they look awful and atrocious right now. These ones I haven't trimmed them up or trimmed off the stem, as you can see near my thumb there. So that's going to get all cut off, and I'm going to trim these up a little bit before those guys get started. But yeah, you can definitely see the difference, how dark and dull the stored ones are and the dried ones are compared to when they get into the water. And I do have some that are very, very small. So like I said, they probably will not produce a bloom the first year. Like something like these little guys are not probably going to produce a flower for me. Let me find something bigger here. Might have to wait. Something a little bit bigger like this will produce a flower. So again, we're going to change the water out every hour. These guys are going to swell and get about 2 times the size of what they are now. So all we can do is wait at this point. So I'm going to show you guys the 10-20 trays and how to get those guys all set up now. So here's your 10-20 tray. As you guys can see, I have it on a 6-foot table right now, and there's a light literally right here. So it's a little bit, just trying to show you it without the light. So yeah, you just have to fill it about halfway full, as you guys can see right there. Nothing fancy. I did mist the soil a little bit. Again, you do not want to place your ranunculus corms in wet, soggy, hard soil or any type of clay-like soil. You want it to dry out, have nice aeration. So that's what it's going to look like. We're going to wait those 3 to 4 hours until those ranunculus corms are nice and swollen. They've absorbed and doubled in size. So this is the Promix bag that I'm using right now. I'm sorry it's on its side right now. I don't want to tip over all of the soil right now. And then the side. So that's what I'm using for my corms this season. It's been 1 hour since these guys got put into the water and they started soaking. So I'm going to show you guys how they look right now. You can see that they are starting to get a little bit bigger. The dirt's starting to separate from these corms as well. So what now is going to happen is I'm going to turn this aerator off, and then I'm going to take this bucket of corms, and I have a strainer near my laundry tub, and I'm going to pour the water out. I'm going to put fresh water in. There we go. So once the fresh water is topped back up, this little hose is going to go back in, and then we're going to wait another hour and let them soak. During this process, when you do end up dumping this bucket, I do recommend getting a strainer, dumping it into a strainer, and then picking through them. Check each individual corm and make sure that there's no rotted ones or any are falling apart. And if they are, just toss them out. There's no sense in trying to grow them, because once you do try and pre-sprout them in the soil, they're just going to create mold in that soil, and it could possibly contaminate that tray, which you obviously don't want to happen. So we're going to head to the laundry bin there, dump this water, get them in the strainer, get some fresh water, and get them back soaking. Dump these. I told you there was a lot. Over 100 easily. So that's all done now. We are just going to take the label out there, throw it back in the pail, and then I'm going to go through all of these, checking them individually, seeing how they're doing. Again, if you notice that they're falling apart, if they're mushy, or if they look like they could potentially rot really quickly, just toss them. There's no sense in trying to. Trying to see. This is what they're going to look like. You guys can see they're brighter. They're a little bit bigger after 1 hour. I apologize because the laundry is going right now. But yeah, that's what they're going to look like after 1 hour. So they're going to be popped back in the bucket. More water is going to be added, and they're going to be soaked. toss that over there. All right, look how clear that water already looks. Beautiful. All right, time to wait for round 2. So this is after 2 hours of sitting in the water and absorbing it. Again, check for any that are mushy, looking like they're gonna rot or mold there. So that's what they look like. You guys can definitely tell the difference from when I first started out here till now. So yeah, these guys are going in. I'm gonna top these guys up with some water, and then we're on round 3, hour number 3. So here we go. Okay, so it's round 3 now. We're on hour number 3. So we're just dumping the corns again, replacing their water, and then we're gonna throw that aerator back in and let it sit for another hour. So yeah, we're on hour number 3 there. So 1 more hour, we're gonna probably leave it from, I'll show you what they look like here in a second here once I dump the water. So we're on 3 hours of the Ranunculus corms soaking, and basically you can tell that they've doubled in size here. You can also tell when you pick them up, they definitely feel different. They're definitely more like Jello. I don't want to say Jello, but like definitely softer, more flexible, more maneuverable, not as stiff. So that's how you guys know that they're basically ready to start pre-sprouting and putting into the soil there. Especially with some of these smaller corms. Let me see if I can find one here. Like these guys right here, they can probably, I don't even know if they're going to sprout or do anything. But because they are so small, I'm going to take them out right now and put them aside. And I'm going to start actually putting them into the soil there. Some of these bigger ones, though, I may soak for another hour, but these guys actually feel really all nice and good. So that's what we're looking for. Trying to find another smaller one to show you guys here. Yeah, like these little guys right here. You guys can see how much they've doubled in size. So that's ready to go into the soil. Now that's nice and swollen, you can see the color change in it. And then these little legs there, they're nice and soft. So they're ready to go into the soil. Basically, I'm going to put that one aside there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the aerator here. And then I'm going to strain these guys one more time and then pick through them, grab all the small ones, put them aside, and we're going to put them in the soil. And then some of these bigger corms, I'm going to soak for maybe another half an hour there, just in case. Like this guy right here might need another half an hour to an hour. So those bigger ones can sit in another hour. But yeah, we definitely need to take some of these out and get them in the soil, like this guy. Okay, so it's been 3 hours that they've been soaking. I ended up separating some of these smaller guys, and the bigger guys are actually on the 4th hour rotation, I guess. I'm going to soak a little bit longer until I place these into this tray, and then I'll pull those out of the water. So I probably have I already filled 1 tray, which is crazy. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you guys can see the corms in there. I'll do another shot in a second here. I just had to make a second 10-20 tray here. And I need to mist it and then basically just place them in here. So when you're placing your ranunculus in the tray, you'll see this little guy. You want to put them with their little feet down just like that in the soil. See at the top there, there's like a little bit of a button or a circle. So that's where your sprout and your stem is going to come out from. And then the roots are just going to come out basically in between, underneath here. Basically underneath there, and that's where the roots are going to form. So basically, yeah, I'm just going to plant them with their little legs down into the soil. You want to plant them and put them and space them, whatever you want to call it, about 1 inch apart here in the trays. Once they do start rooting, the good thing about these trays is that when they start rooting, the roots will actually grow and intermingle, which isn't really the worst thing. Super easy to pull apart when you need to transplant them. You just have to kind of flood this tray or shake them out, is what I did last year. They were actually super easy to get out of the tray. and they had awesome roots. So yeah, this one is just like basically the small little corms that I'm planting right now. We're going to plant them an inch apart. And then the bigger ones will be labeled as well. Don't forget to stick your labels in the trays. Once you guys have soaked your ranunculus corms for about 3 to 4 hours, like I said, you're going to place them down with their little feet down into the soil. And this is how they look. And I did mist the soil as well. So again, you don't want them to sit in soggy soil, but you want it to be just moist enough that over the next few hours, the water will still absorb into those ranunculus corms and make them a little bit bigger. So if you overwatered them or soaked them, for too long, basically what's going to happen is you're probably going to have these guys rot out on you over the next 2 weeks there. So it's going to take about 2 weeks now once we cover these guys up and store them in a cool, dark spot there. They'll start to root, and then some of them may end up rotting or mushing over the next few weeks. But you can just remove them from this tray at that point and any of the soil around it. That way it's not contaminated. So yeah, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put soil over these little corms. You only need the soil to be about 1 inch covering them. And then I'll show you where I place them. So yeah, you don't need to bury these guys too deep, although you don't want the corm to be sticking out of the soil and exposed to the light there. These guys need to sit in darkness for like 2 weeks. Okay, so that's how it's going to look. I'm going to mist it one more time. And then I'm going to throw a label in it as well. And then I'm going to show you guys how you store these guys. So when you're pre-sprouting your ranunculus corms and you've already put them in the soil and they're ready to go into storage there, in order for your ranunculus to pre-sprout or to create roots basically, you need it in a cool, dark spot. So you want to have it in a very dark spot. Some people will put them in their garages, their cellars, so on and so forth. I just use my basement. Some people even actually, I have seen them use fridges, like the refrigerator. Unfortunately, I don't get that. So we do it here in the basement. So you want to aim for temperatures usually around 4 to 10 degrees Celsius here in Canada, for those of you that are in Celsius. I think that's about 40 to 50 Fahrenheit. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. So yeah, between 4 and 10, you want to pre-sprout your ranunculus. I usually sit around anywhere from about 11 to 14 degrees on the floor of the basement here. It does get cool. People will do this part differently in storing them. So like I said, I'm in the basement here. I'm going to put them under a 6-foot table and on the floor. Nothing fancy, and they do pre-sprout. The warmer it is though, you have a higher chance of them rotting out too as well. So keep that in mind. Another tip, always check on your corms. Check on them daily. Sometimes you do need to mist them. But again, you don't want that soggy soil and you don't want it to be wet. So as you can see behind me there's garbage bags. It's actually biodegradable weed mat. So it was perfect because it had the length I needed. I think it's like 6 feet across. So it was perfect for putting up on the table, having it drape down and touch the floor. And the only downside of doing it that way is the humidity. You have to be careful and you have to vent it out. So I do recommend, if you do it that way, to bring a fan into the room and just create some more airflow as well. So yeah, I do air out and lift up this little tarp there, usually at nighttime. As I was saying, the tarp here, or the whatever you want to call this, drape, it gets opened every night there. So at nighttime, when it's dark here, this gets opened up, allows airflow, the fan's flowing, so it decreases the chances of your corms producing mold, right? And you'll see the mold right on top of the soil. So when you see that, definitely remove it. Check on that corm. Sometimes you might just need to remove some of the old stem. That might be an issue. Sometimes I will put cinnamon on top of it to help. I don't know if it actually does help, but I didn't have a problem last year anyways too much with mold, which was nice considering it was actually my first time pre-sprouting the corms there. So yeah, this is where they are stored, basically underneath on the floor, like I said to you guys. Right now, I think it's sitting at 13.2 degrees Celsius. So again, you want to store them at this point, usually between 4 to 10, 13 degrees. Not terrible, not ideal either. I do have my temperature gun, so I can actually put it on that and then double check the temperature of the soil as well and get a more accurate reading there. So the key to storing these guys, keep them in a cool, dark spot there. Obviously right now it's bright, which is why I have this dark covering. So that is suggested if you choose to do the same route that I do. Again, everyone does it differently. This is just the way that I do it. Now I'm going to wait 2 weeks. I'm going to check on them daily though. So that is important. So again, like I said earlier, sometimes they do need to be misted in the 2 week period. So in part 2, I'm going to show you guys how they look when they start to root. And then I'm going to show you guys getting them under the light. And then I'm going to go over transplanting them into the raised beds there come March, usually about mid-March there is when we're going to start transplanting them out. So if you want to follow along, like, comment, subscribe, you'll see more in part 2 there. And I forgot to say that I will see you guys in 2 weeks' time.